These are the drawing pencils. I ordered these on Amazon. And let's take a look what we have in here. Here's a bunch of pencils, and looks like it goes 9B, 8B, 7B, 6B, 5B, 4B, 3B, 2B. That looks like B, and this is HB. What is that one? F and H. So the way this ranking system is working for the pencils is the 9B is going to be the softest pencil lead. Well, it's not a lead, it's graphite, but and you can compare that. This will be the hardest one here, the one all the way at the end here. This will be a, so I'll compare these two. So this is the hardest pencil lead, or graphite, and this is the softest. So I'm sort of putting equal pressure with these pencils. You can blend with your finger. So you can see the softer pencil is easier to make a darker mark without putting undue pressure on the paper. So this H pencil is not ever going to be able to make a mark that dark. And I can keep loading it up with the graphite. Okay, so I'm going to put away the harder pencil. I usually do most of my drawings with the softer pencils, like 6B, stuff like that. Now, I was blending with my finger. You can also use these things to blend with. This little package I got on Amazon, and it has these things in here these are called blending stumps. These are the tools that you would use for drawing. Get these blending stumps out. So anyway, there's 3 different size blending stumps. So if you want to, I'm just going to use the middle size for right now. So instead of using your finger, you can use a blending stump. See how that's giving some nice blending? And the blending stumps wind up collecting some of this graphite on them when you do your blending. And then you can actually, if you prefer, you can draw with what's on the blending stump. Sometimes you can go borrow some graphite and put it somewhere to make a lighter shading if you want. And this other thing in the bag here, this thing here just has sandpaper on it. Now, ordinarily wouldn't buy one of these separately because it's cheaper to just go to the hardware store and buy some sandpaper that's equivalent to something like this. But this was in with the blending stumps and the kneaded eraser, which I'll show you next. But what you can do with this, see how your blending stumps wind up getting graphite on them, and if you want to clean them off, you can just sand off your blending stumps. You can sharpen them, sand them to clean them up a little bit. And you can sharpen them to a point. See how I'm rolling it to a point. So that's what this is for. But what I typically do, you know, if I'm buying blending stumps and this comes in a package, well, I get this as a bonus. But if I need sandpaper, I just buy some at the hardware store, and it's cheaper than buying one of these separately. Now, these are for blending also. They're just rolled up pieces of paper. This is the kneaded eraser. Let me show you these first, since I was working with blending stumps. So I'll compare that in size to this bigger blending stump. So some of these you can get in there and do a little finer blending, or use something small like this to get into a tight area where you may want to do some blending if you're drawing someone's eye and you want to blend right under the eyelid or something like that, or just get into a small spot. Sometimes these can come in handy, and these are just kind of rolled up paper, and they're fairly pointy, and that also came in this little kit. All right, now for the kneaded eraser. This is one of the erasers that came with this little package. And I'll put some links below the video for where I got this stuff at Amazon. And those are affiliate links, so it'll help support what I'm doing on this channel. So this is called a kneaded eraser, because you can knead it like you would dough, like this. So so the kneaded eraser, you can roll it to a point if you wanted to do some precision erasing, lightening something up. It's not very sturdy, it flexes around. But what you can do with these kneaded erasers is you can lighten something up. See how that lifted that patch? Say I got a little spot darker than I wanted, I can just lift some of this graphite off with this kneaded eraser, like that. And then of course you've got to, when it gets the graphite on it, you just knead it around to get a clean spot on the eraser, and you could do the same thing somewhere else. Just use it to lighten something up. Of course, you can do stuff like this. Okay, so this is one eraser, and this also came with that little package. They're neat little erasers. And then this other one, I had this. I didn't order it, but I'll put some links where you can get it. This is a Mars plastic eraser. I like these erasers because you can, number one, they won't leave a mark on your page. Like some of the pink erasers will actually, if you use it, they may stain the page pink. This doesn't do that, so and they're a pretty good eraser. So I like using these, and this is one I had. I didn't have to order them because I've got several of these. So that's one of the tools for erasing, in addition to the Need Eraser. And of course, this is some drawing paper. There's quite a few different kinds of drawing paper. This is pretty thin paper. It's almost like you would use at a computer printer, and you certainly could draw on that. And there's heavier weight papers you can order. So anyway, I'm going to grab the 6B pencil. Looks like it right there. And so if you're drawing something, like let's say you're drawing a cylinder. So you have a cylinder. There's the top of the cylinder. Maybe you have the sides coming down like this. And this. So even though a cylinder, if you look at the top of a cylinder, you'd see a circle, but if you're looking at an angle, the circle will turn into an ellipse because of the perspective involved. And so this edge of this ellipse and this edge should be parallel to each other. So I can draw this ellipse, and generally when you're drawing something, you have the light coming from one side, and shadows will cast on the side where the light's not coming. So if I have the light coming from the right, the ellipse will be shadowed over here. Of course, the shadow would be darkest, so I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on this edge just to make this edge a little darker. Get more graphite there. And then say if the light's coming from this angle, this thing will cast a shadow over here. So I want to sort of maybe put a shadow in here. The shadows help ground things. If you don't have a shadow, things won't look like they're sitting on a surface. So, and now I'm just going to grab a blending stump, and I'm going to start blending what I've done to show you how to use these things to draw something. And again, with the blending stump, I can put more pressure where I want to make something darker and less pressure when I want to make something lighter. So this shadow, I generally want it to be darkest over here and gradually get lighter as we approach the side of where the light is. Blend my shadow. Might just blur it a little bit like this. Putting a little bit more pressure down here, trying to blur this line. This line here I might just eliminate it altogether, or at least lighten it up quite a bit. That I'll have a better effect here. shade the top a little bit. And I may want to lighten the top a little bit, right? Because the light's shining on it. So maybe I've shaded it too dark. So I'm just using the kneaded eraser, and you see I'm tapping on it and see how it's lightening it up. And I also want to try to eliminate that line I put in there. And now I'm just blending it. So that's the idea on how to use these tools to blend something. Now I can grab my my 9B. I'm using the 9B now just to make this edge darker, because the 9B is the softest pencil, so I can make this edge really dark if I want to, right? You make the shadow a little darker closer to the object, and the shadow will get a little bit lighter as it moves away from the object. So anyway, that's an example of how to do some blending.